see, I'm a member of the Terrible Creations, Croatian company that specializes in LARPs, gamified experiences, and other game-related things. I've been LARPing for more than 15 years and designing LARPs for more than 10. Beside that, I've been working as health, safety, and environment specialist for years. And last year, I got the opportunity to switch to... Do I need to start again? Okay. Hi, everyone. So, my name is Lucia. I'm part of the Terrible Creations, Croatian company that specializes in LARPs, gamified experiences, and everything game-related. I've been LARPing for more than 15 years and designing LARPs for more than 10 years. And beside that, I've been working as health, safety, and environment specialist. And last year, I've got the opportunity to switch to the field of sustainable development, which I happily took. So I'm here to share some of what I've learned in the meantime. Okay, so I suppose you all heard about sustainable development. It's not a new term. Can anyone maybe explain in their words what it is?
Sustainability would mean that you live like you did nothing, like there's nothing that's left behind you that is going to make any difference on a bad way.
Okay, so yes, you're both on a very good track. So in 1987, UN World Commission on Environment and Development defined sustainable development as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. So the point is that we do not stop the development, we keep the development, but we do it in a way that it does not endanger anything that comes in the future. Throughout the years, sustainable development has most often been associated with environmental topics. So, ozone layer, climate change, waste management, usually these kinds of things. Fast forward to 2004, when the ESG term first appeared. So, what is it? ESG represents the 3 pillars of sustainable development. So we can say it took sustainable development to a new level and combined it with something called corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility was usually associated with social and governance themes, and ESG took it all under the same roof. So what does this actually combine? So the 3 pillars are environment, social, and governance. The environment pillar takes into account energy usage and efficiency, climate change strategy, including climate change mitigation and adaptation, waste reduction and recycling, and circular economy, which takes us to resource management, water management, both consumption and pollution, biodiversity, and so on and so on. The social pillar talks about human rights, with special outlook to children's rights, labor rights, occupational health and safety, diversity and inclusion, equal opportunities, customer and product responsibility, including product safety, and so on. And then there's the governance pillar, which is kind of abstract and cannot stand so much on its own, as much as it is the baseline for the other 2. So we need to have governance to keep environment and social pillars up. So there's compliance, business ethics, transparency and integrity, board diversity and governance, stakeholder engagement, and so on and so on. Okay, now that we know about ESG, let's take a look on UN Sustainable Development Goals. So do you know anything about those? Any idea how many are there? Okay, so there's 17. They were set up by the UN in 2015 with a goal to reach them by 2030. They include 169 targets under each of them. So what are they? The goals are to achieve zero poverty in the world, to ensure food security and improve nutrition, and to promote sustainable agriculture, to ensure good health and well-being, to ensure inclusive and quality education, to ensure gender equality, to ensure clean water and sanitation, to ensure affordable and clean energy, to promote inclusive and sustainable economic growth, employment, and decent work, to build resilient infrastructure, promote sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation, to make cities inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable, to achieve responsible consumption and production, to mitigate climate change, but also to adapt to it, to protect marine life and resources, to prevent ecosystem degradation and biodiversity loss, to promote just, peaceful, and inclusive societies, and to revitalize global partnership for sustainable development. The last one is especially important because no one can achieve any of these goals on his own. So we need the partnership and the cooperation to get where we need to go. So what does this have to do with ESG? Well, each of the goals fits into one of our pillars. Some even fit more of them. Okay, and now for more interesting things. What is it that ESG can do for LARP? Well, first thing, you probably heard plenty about projects and doing LARP through projects and doing LARP-related projects and so on. It's a cool thing to do, it's something we should do, and ESG can help us do it. Because most of LARPs have something in common with one of the pillars, with one of the Sustainable Development Goals. All we need to do is try to think in that way to find this connection. So these are just some of the examples of different funds that could be the sources of the finance for our ideas. So we have several European funds, we have tourist associations, we have local governments, and then there are impact funds. So what are impact funds? Funds that specialize in financing projects and organizations that deal with positive impact, mostly in terms of sustainable development. So if you have an idea or a project that can be aligned with one of the Sustainable Development Goals, chances are that you can get funding from an impact fund, if you can find one. And there are quite a few around. So even if you're not fully aligned with any of the goals, or if you're applying for a fund that doesn't specialize in this topic, mentioning any of the goals and aligning yourself with them can be a buzzword. And if nothing else, it can bring you some bonus points. It may not ensure the funding, but it can certainly help. Another thing it can do for us is help us make better LARPs. So if we take ESG principles into account, for example, it can help us become aware of our environmental impacts. It can help us manage crew and players. And it can help us govern and manage our events and organizations. So what is it that LARP can do for ESG? Well, we come back to so often mentioned EduLARPs. Of course, EduLARPs can be used for a lot of things, and ESG is one of them. If we want to teach public about any of the sustainable development topics, if there are certain organizations that need this kind of material, EduLARP is definitely a way to go. And even if we do not look at EduLARPs, there are a lot of non-EduLARPs that can incorporate some of these topics. Just a few examples. You can have a generic fantasy LARP that talks about ecosystem degradation through nymphs trying to fight for their forest that is being cut down. Or you can have a village trying to adapt to climate changes like flooding or droughts or long winter. Almost any LARP can deal with gender equality as well as discrimination. And of course, LARP is a perfect way for all kinds of trainings and simulations for both corporations, government officials, or NGOs. You name it, you can use it. Okay, that's pretty much it. Thank you for your patience. Do you have any questions? I can't exactly take you to the process which led to it. I just remember that I was at one of the conferences listening to some lectures, and it was just like a light bulb coming up. Like, we should talk about this. Sure. Well, one thing I've noticed is that LARPs and LARPers are very inclusive. So they mostly do not discriminate. They accept different people for who they are. Anything else? Well, we work in slightly different kind of way. So we're still a startup company, and we do mostly small LARPs. So there are a lot of things that we're still struggling with. So there wasn't a lot of time to take all of this into account. But just one quite banal example, we're always trying to reduce the amount of materials we hand out to players that we know that are going to end up as trash. So this is one thing that we are still struggling about, but that is here somewhere. We are aware of it and we are trying to work on it. And another example. Before every bigger LARP we do, our LARPs are up to 50 players. So for every LARP, let's say above 10 people, we send out a questionnaire that we want future players to fill out, which includes questions about possible illnesses, special needs, anything that we as organizers should be aware, so we can accommodate to them in any way, help them if need be.
Just out of curiosity, you said 17 goals up until 2030.
Yes?
How far along are we?
I did not have a time to check that up, but there actually is a web page that you can follow up on that. So I can share it later.
Do you have any ideas about cool handouts that would accommodate sustainability? And like, you know, they can be reused or maybe different kinds of materials that are recyclable and anything like that.
Well, the best option would be to have the materials online exclusively. But that's not always possible because sometimes you just need to give players something that they can have here and not look all the phones all the time. I mean, paper is paper. Yes, you can recycle it, but for those who work in this field, that they know reducing comes before recycling. So we always want to give as few as possible, but it's not always completely possible.
And what is your experience with the acceptance of things regarding ESG? So having less paper or asking beings to come by bus or stuff like that. How do they feel about it? Your experience?
Well, every change for people is hard in any way. So it takes time. There are people who will accept it faster, better. There are some who will resist it. It's something that we have to work on. So there is a workshop scheduled for later where we're supposed to talk exactly about all the kind of things that we can do in our LARPs to make them more sustainable, if you want to join. Any other questions? No? Okay, then I guess we'll wrap it up.